2 weeks ago, the United States officially recognized the legitimate government of Venezuela and its new president, Juan Guaido. We stand with the Venezuelan people in their noble quest for freedom, and we condemn the brutality of the Maduro regime, whose socialist policies have turned that nation from being the wealthiest in South America into a state of abject poverty and despair. Here in the United States, we are alarmed by the new calls to adopt socialism in our country. America was founded on liberty and independence, and not government coercion, domination, and control. We are born free, and we will stay free. Tonight, we renew our resolve that America will never be a socialist country.
It's 11:45 Eastern. It's time for A Radio's Morning Moment.
You're listening to A Radio.
Thank you for joining us. You're listening to A Radio, and this is the Morning Moment. Follow us on Spreaker.com and click on the like button. You can find us on most social media platforms such as iTunes, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Go to our website, aradio.wordpress.com, for details, where you'll find more content and details on our podcasts and more. This is part 2 of an interview with Senator Ron Johnson done by Glenn Beck. This piece will show you how the deep state does exist, dumb though they are, stupid though they are, and naive definitely, and without a doubt selfish to the core. The sad thing about all this, insert country name, because really it doesn't matter which country you're in, is that none of these people, in whatever country you talk about, realise, well, I'm pretty sure they don't realise, that if they follow through these actions to their logical conclusion, they are the ones, more than any other group, be they journalists, helpers, enablers, that will be targeted to be silenced. And you can interpret silenced in any number of ways, because those who would be king cannot risk any paper trail or any personal trail to them. If this coup is to be successful, they must have total control over everyone. Certainly in Canada, the federal Liberal Communists have done a really good job controlling the media, and this will shock my American friends. Far better, I must say, than the US media, who have to contend with that pesky US Constitution. Here in Canada, They just ignore ours. But Senator Ron Johnson details how the obstructionists in the federal government institutions have blocked, lied, and denied access to information they have requested by the laws and authority granted to them by the US Constitution. So, in my opinion, if they can't have oversight and get away with this, what else will it embolden them to do next? You've already seen that there is clear evidence that the President of the United States, Barack Hussein Obama, and his VP, Biden, and his Secretary of State, Kerry, and others were directly involved with Clinton's attempt of a coup over Trump. 4 years later, 4 years it's taken, and nothing has been done to bring these people to justice, to the extent that one of these aforementioned characters has the gall to run for president himself, while the others carry on without a care in the world. If this can be the result of a potential coup, then who is safe anywhere?
So we spent about a year looking at what was happening with Ukraine and the civil society 2.0, the George Soros connections to getting in and wanting to change the Constitution, setting up what would you even call it? An extra constitutional law authority and prosecution authority over in Ukraine. All coordinated with the Obama administration, all of this stuff that is going on. And now we are looking at the same kind of things happening here in our own state. And I look at the, Transition Integrity Project. That is a well coordinated plan to overthrow an election if the popular vote goes the way of Biden. And of course, go ahead.
I say we witnessed a complete corruption of the transition process last time.
Right.
We're going to have our report. One of the things I've been pointing out as we try to do this oversight work, again, looking at the deep state, it's almost impossible to get documents, and you need documents in order to do decent interviews. But one of the things I've been doing in most recent TV hits is I show one email that we got from the General Services Administration in our transition investigation. We get the exact same email from the FBI production. What's notable is from the GSA, we can read the whole email. The FBI, it's completely redacted. It's almost 100% redacted. And this is after the FBI, I got so frustrated, I subpoenaed their records. We've just had expired the second extension, and we still haven't basically got squat. Gina Haspel has not provided us any information. And one of the main reasons the hearing with Comey was pretty successful yesterday is the day before, we finally did get from DNI Radcliffe an email talking about the fact that Russia had information that Hillary Clinton had signed off on a plan to stir up a scandal against presidential candidate Trump, tying him to Putin and Russia. And that Brennan actually briefed Obama on this, claiming that Hillary Clinton signed off on this on July 26th of 2016. And then that was referred by the intelligence community to the FBI for investigation, to Comey and to Strzok. And Comey goes, I don't remember that at all. So they started an investigation on Trump based on George Papadopoulos having some bar talk in London. And so this whole thing spins into a investigation, to a special counsel, eventually into impeachment. But James Comey doesn't remember when Hillary Clinton actually bought and paid for the Steele dossier, which had Russian disinformation, and now we have allegations that she was actually approving a plan to spin up the scandal. I mean, this is mind-boggling stuff. And when you put that piece of the puzzle into our timelines, by the way, you did a great job with timelines. We've learned from you.
Thank you.
Same thing. We put that piece of puzzle into our timeline. It's pretty interesting. So if she signs off on this on July 26th, well, that's the exact same day the friendly foreign government delivered this information on Papadopoulos to the U.S. Embassy in London. 2 days later, that information is relayed to the Counterintelligence Division at FBI headquarters here in D.C. 3 days later, they set up Crossfire Hurricane. Now we're also starting to see that Robbie Mook, a month before, made his only visit to the White House. again, these are just pieces of the puzzle. There's no absolute proof, but it raises so many serious questions that, once again, the mainstream media is completely ignoring. You know, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I'm peddling Russian information. I'm a kook. You're a kook. We're all kooks. No, this is serious information. And when President Trump said there was an attempted coup against his administration,
he's right.
That's exactly what this was. That's what's so frightening about this. And the American people don't know the truth because the mainstream media is not reporting on it.
Senator, I have to tell you, I was very uncomfortable with the talk of a deep state coming from Donald Trump. I actually thought that there was a good chance that all this was true about Russia and Donald Trump's connections. And I told my staff, I want you to overturn every stone, and we are going to go where the truth leads us. If that means we go against everybody on the right because Donald Trump was dirty, we do it. If he's clean, we do it. There was no one that was more skeptical of Donald Trump at the beginning than I was. I was probably his biggest adversary. What he said was absolutely true. What he said was going on. There has not been a peaceful transition of power since George Bush. That is just a fact. These people have worked, conspired, and tried to thwart and overthrow him every day he has been in office, and it started before he got into office. If we don't clean this up, we don't have a republic.
No, Glenn, you're exactly right, and this should be outrageous and shocking to the American public, but they just shrug it off. And again, when they asked the vice president in the debates, about whether or not he would support packing of the courts. Right. Whether he'd support the Senate getting rid of the filibuster and turning the Senate in the House. He's not pressed to actually answer the question, which is, it's got to drive Trump nuts. Yeah. And by the way, this is their game plan. This is how they operate. Exactly what they did against President Trump. They spun up this entire false narrative about Russia collusion is a diversionary operation, is what I've always believed, against their misdeeds in the FBI. Okay, and it's worked phenomenally well. Yep. They did the same thing against me. They literally created an intelligence product accusing Chuck Grassley and myself of peddling Russian disinformation, receiving it from this Andrei Durkash. We didn't. It's completely false. They leaked that to the press, and that's where you get 100 news stories accusing us of peddling Russian disinformation. It's all completely false. But they got away with it with President Trump. They're going to try it time and time and time again.
Part 3 will wrap this up, and then you'll hear how far they're going to go, including involving members of the military. That should scare Americans. All Americans. Unless they're communists, of course. You can find more at aradio.wordpress.com, where you can find links to us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Gab, Parler, Spotify, and email. We are continuing to reach out to you, so please pass these links on to your friends. Please click on the follow button on Spreaker.com. You can listen to all our morning moments at Spreaker.com/A-Radio. That's EHRADIO, a radio. And please click on the like button. Join us Monday, Wednesday and Friday, 11:45 Eastern, for our morning moment or tweak. And tell your friends, pass the word. We only tell the truth, not what the Canadian mainstream media want you to know. This time, more than any in history, we all need to trust but verify.